This week, we learned that the CEO of IBM, a company that's been around long before computers were invented, sat down with a napkin, crayon, and a calculator and figured out something the rest of Silicon Valley apparently missed. There's no freaking way to make money on this. That's not me editorializing. That's Arvind Krishna, CEO of IBM, on the record, explaining that $8 trillion in data center commitments would require $800 billion in profit just to pay the interest. The interest. Not the principal, the interest. His exact words, there's no way you're going to get a return on that. Don't exaggerate there, dude. Meanwhile, OpenAI currently losing $13.5 billion a year. And pivoting to display ads, heard that Google's Gemini is beating them and declared an internal code red, just like the Mountain Dew flavor. Their solution? A new model. They named it Garlic. Not Apollo, not John Wayne, not even Pee Wee Herman on steroids and Red Bull. Garlic. Like the thing you put in pasta sauce to keep vampires away. I'm Uncle Rod. Yes, we're living in a timeline where a Nobel Prize winning AI researcher says the entire industry is spending trillions on the wrong technology, while OpenAI fights back with a root vegetable. Hit that thumbs up like button if you like. Subscribe if you've got nothing better to do with your life. And leave a comment if you dare. Share this with every Kevin you meet at your local 7-Eleven behind the counter. I need the views. My therapist is expensive. Let's go.
This is drugs. This is your brain on drugs.
All right, let's break down Arvind Krishna's napkin math, shall we? Because apparently he's the only executive in Silicon Valley who remembers how division works. It costs $80 billion to fill 1 gigawatt of data center capacity with AI chips. That's today's price. If you commit to 20 to 30 gigawatts, which is what these companies are doing, that's $1.5 trillion in capital expenditure for one company. Oh, and those chips, they're worthless in 5 years, just like your new Dodge Caravan. You throw them out and start over. So you're 5 years to recoup $1.5 trillion plus interest, plus operational costs, plus rebuilding the whole freaking thing in year 6. Krishna looked at global commitments, everyone chasing AGI like it's the Holy Grail, and counted about 100 gigawatts.
Look, you stupid bastard, you've got no arms left.
Yes, I have.
Look!
Just a flesh wound.
Look, stop that!
Chicken! Chicken!
Do the math. 100 gigawatts times $80 billion equals $8 trillion. To make back $8 trillion in capex, you need $800 billion in profit just to cover the interest. Not revenue, not gross margin, pure profit. After you've paid everyone, kept the lights on, and settled your legal bills that come up every year in a main corporation like that. For context, Apple, literally one of the most profitable companies on earth, made $100 billion last year. You need 8 apples just to break even on the interest. I don't know anyone who wants 8 apples in the refrigerator, let alone on their balance sheets. Krishna's conclusion, delivered with the calm of a man who knows he's stating the obvious, there's no way you're going to get a return on that. The Decoder host, he pushed back, but Sam Altman believes OpenAI can generate returns on this spending. And Krishna's response, that's a belief. That's what some people like to chase. I understand that from their perspective, but that's different from agreeing with them. In other words, Mr. Altman is batshit crazy. That's what he couldn't say. That's what he wanted to say. Then came the knockout punch. Krishna was asked about the odds of reaching AGI with current technology. His answer? 0 to 1%. 0 to 1%. He's basically saying you've got a better chance of winning the lottery while getting struck by lightning than reaching AGI by just building bigger data centers. But wait, there's more. It's a butt wait, a fat ass alert. Maybe Krishna's just being pessimistic. Maybe the technology itself is sound, even if the economics are dog turds. No. Jan LeCun, winner of the Turing Award, one of the godfathers of modern AI, Nobel Prize laureate for his work on neural networks, has been touring the conference circuit delivering one simple message. You're all building this wrong. Large language models, dead end. You can't get to AGI by scaling up autocomplete, no matter how big you make it. What you need, according to LeCun, is world model architecture, where machines develop actual understanding of reality instead of just predicting the next word like a very expensive Mad Libs. Remember Mad Libs? I thought they were fun. You guys remember those? I remember sometimes a teacher in especially middle school, we didn't have anything else to do. We'd do Mad Libs. Well, if LeCun's right, and this is a guy who literally invented half the shite everyone's using, then the entire AI industry is currently building the Betamax of artificial intelligence. $8 trillion on the wrong technology. As one Guardian columnist put it, that would be one big oops for much of today's AI spend. You think? But surely other smart people disagree with LeCun, right? Mark Benioff, CEO of Salesforce, says AGI is extremely suspect. He compared it to hypnosis, like we've all been mesmerized, we've been hypnotized into believing this crap. Andrew Ng, founder of Google Brain, AGI is overhyped, he said. Arthur Minch, CEO of Mistral and apparently Summer's Eve, I don't know, said AGI is a marketing move. Oh, and here's my favorite. Ilya Sutskever, OpenAI's former chief scientist, one of the guys who built ChatGPT, said last month that the age of scaling is over. Direct quote, even 100 times scaling of LLMs would not be completely transformative. Let me repeat that. The guy who helped create GPT is now saying that making it 100 times bigger won't actually solve the fundamental problems. So we've got IBM CEO saying that economics are fantasy, a Nobel Prize winner saying the technology is wrong, multiple industry leaders calling it hypnosis and marketing, OpenAI's own founding scientist saying scaling is a dead end. Surely, this would trigger some kind of a strategic rethinking, right? Some acknowledgement that maybe they need to pump the brakes. Pump you up. Nope. According to the information, OpenAI heard that Google's Gemini is eating their lunch and declared an internal code red. Their solution? Build a new model. They're calling it Garlic. I need you to really marinate in the absurdity of this. Get it? Google names models after gemstones. Gemini, Ruby, Topaz, sounds expensive and powerful. Anthropic went with Claude, dignified, human, trustworthy. Elon Musk went with Grok, not sure what it means, but it sounds like some kind of sea creature that appears after a couple of Guinnesses. Guinnessai? I don't know. And now facing a crisis where their own former chief scientist says scaling won't work, where IBM CEO says the math is impossible, where a Nobel Prize winner says they're building the wrong thing entirely, they're betting the company on garlic, the same ingredient you use to keep vampires away and make spaghetti taste great. Somewhere in OpenAI headquarters, there's a designer creating assets for an AI model shaped like a bulbous root vegetable. Somewhere a sales team is practicing their pitch. Yes, Mr. Johnson, we understand your concern about our $13.5 billion annual losses, but have you considered garlic? It's got layers and it's very pungent. Now, to be fair, I'm stretching the definition of fair here. The reporting suggests garlic represents a pivot away from the bigger is better philosophy. It's supposedly focused on efficiency and reasoning in a smaller, more compact architecture. Internal benchmarks allegedly show it outperforming Gemini 3, which means OpenAI looked at Ilya Sutskever saying scaling is over and thought, you know what? He might have a point. Let's make something smaller. I don't know who's running branding over there, but I'm picturing a sleep-deprived product manager staring at a whiteboard going, garlic. It's called garlic. It's small but powerful. Makes everything better. People have used it for thousands of years. It wards off evil, vampires, and the women who look attractive at closing time. Garlic is the answer. And everyone else too exhausted to argue because they've been in meetings for 47 consecutive hours trying to figure out how to monetize a chatbot that costs $40 million in a day to run. And while all this is unfolding, The Guardian ran a piece with the most honest headline I've seen all year. The question isn't whether the AI bubble will burst, but what the fallout will be. Because bubbles always pop. Always. The Dutch had tulips. The British had the South Sea Company. Americans had .com, housing, crypto. Every new frontier produces a speculative frenzy. Investors stampede in and overdo it, then stampede out. It's the economic equivalent of Black Friday before internet shopping. So yeah, AI is going to pop. But the question is, does it take the financial system with it? The housing bubble was financed by mortgage debt. When it burst, it nuked balance sheets everywhere. Banks, households, credit markets took years to recover. I've told you before, I used to pick up my phone to see if there's a dial tone. The dot-com bubble was mostly equity. Investors lost fortunes, but the financial system survived. And we got Amazon, Google, and the modern internet out of it. So which is AI? Well, according to Bloomberg, big tech has raised $250 billion in debt this year, which is a record. Morgan Stanley projects a $1.5 trillion funding gap that needs filling with more debt. And here's where it gets really, really lovely. Nobody knows who's actually holding the risk anymore. NVIDIA's buying into OpenAI. OpenAI is buying compute from Microsoft. Microsoft's invested in OpenAI. Oracle's borrowing $38 billion to build data centers for OpenAI. It's a circular financing flustercuck that makes Enron look like a lemonade stand. When this pops, and it will pop, we might not even get anything useful out of it. The dot-com bubble gave us e-commerce, cloud computing, and social media. The AI bubble might give us a bunch of worthless data centers full of deprecated chips, $250 billion in defaulted debt, and a mascot named after something you buy at Trader Joe's for $2. Oh, and remember that world model architecture LeCun says is the right approach? Yeah, nobody's spending trillions on that. They're all in on LLMs, the thing the Nobel Prize winner explicitly said is a dead end. So when this implodes, we won't even have the consolation of, well, at least we learned something. We'll have learned that billionaires can convince other billionaires to burn trillions of dollars chasing something a Nobel Prize winner told them wouldn't work, while ignoring an IBM CEO who explained the math doesn't add up anyway. But don't despair, Google's got a backup plan. While everyone's torching mountains of cash on AI, Google unveiled their Willow quantum computing chip. Sundar Pichai says quantum is where AI was 5 years ago, on the verge of breakthrough. Real-world applications coming within 5 years. Materials, drugs, clean energy. Which sounds great until you realize that what he's actually saying. Hey, remember that thing we just spent $8 trillion on that doesn't work? We've got another thing that's exactly like that was 5 years ago. Who wants in? If quantum is where AI was 5 years ago, that means we're about to speed run this entire disaster again. Hype cycle, investment frenzy, bubble formation, code reds, models named after pantries, staples. Google announces new quantum model, oregano. Microsoft counters with basil. OpenAI frantically develops paprika to stay competitive in the spice wars. 5 years from now, IBM's next CEO will be on a podcast saying, yeah, quantum doesn't pencil out either. We checked. And Jan LeCun will be at a conference explaining, actually, you need a completely different architecture for quantum supremacy. Everyone's building the wrong thing again. We'll all be sitting here watching billionaires set money on fire while naming their doom project after what's in your spice rack. The only difference is the numbers of zeros involved. I'll see you in the next episode.